Hey guys, how's it going? So for the discussion in this video, we got something a little bit interesting, and right off the bat, I'm going to say that this video is pure speculation. I don't know anything about this subject matter to be factual. This is all just based on my perception of what I'm about to tell you. So, I was at work about a week ago. One of my coworkers goes, "Did you see the Hilux, the Toyota Hilux in the back?" And I said, "What? No, what are you talking about?" And so a few months ago, the shop next door to us, which is independently owned, got an 85 Toyota pickup, which, if you know anything about old Toyota pickups, is like the holy grail, because you had fuel injection and it was the last year of the solid front axle. So I thought he meant like an old Helix that someone had imported, whatever. I said, no, I think I would have noticed seeing that. And so he's like, no, it's a newer one. It's like, what do you mean it's a newer one? So we wander back into the shop. I'm headed back towards my stall, and he goes, right there. And I look up on the lift, and at first glance, I thought I saw a Tacoma. Like just a newer one, like a 2010 or 11 or somewhere in there. And then I kind of looked at it, and the taillights looked kind of funny. So I walk up to this truck, this Tacoma, to find out that it says Helix on the back. And I'm just really confused. And so I start looking, and like the structure of the box is a little different, and the cab's a little different, the front end, everything. Well, as many of you know, you can't get a new Toyota Helix in the States. So I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm thinking about the import laws, and I'm thinking cars have to be 25 years old to be imported. That's when like guys are bringing in Skylines and stuff like that. So how is this thing here? Well, the more I look at it, I'm kind of trying to just absorb this. All right, so the guys who supposedly own this truck are standing back in the shop, and they're just kind of being weird about it. Like, they're standing there, and they're not letting anyone really get too close to it or anything like that. And one of my other coworkers told me that he thought they were from Toyota, which I thought was kind of strange. So my gears are starting to turn a little bit. I'm thinking, is this like a test mule or something like that? Because as many of you know, the Toyota Hilux overseas has a diesel in it. So I started asking the guys questions, and you could tell they really didn't want to be answering my questions. And so I asked them if it was a diesel, and they kind of reluctantly told me yes. And you could tell they didn't really want me snooping around the truck too much, but I looked around a little bit, and dimensionally, it was about the same size as Tacoma, maybe a little bit smaller, but not enough to be notable. But yeah, so here's this diesel pickup that people have been screaming their lungs out for Toyota to bring to the States for years. And here's these two kind of sketchy guys. And I say Russian, and everyone's going to laugh, but I'm serious. Like, they had Russian accents. These are like Russian guys. They're not from here. And to add to the weirdness, there were Michigan manufacturing plates on this thing. Like, manufacturer's plates on the back of this thing, all right? So then, on top of that, a lot of these new vehicles, and bear with me because this part's kind of hard for me to explain, but a lot of the newer vehicles, like on the emblems, there'll be a sensor in there for their radar cruise control and stuff like that. The emblems on the front of vehicles, like where the Toyota badge is on the grill, they've gotten smart, right? They're not just an emblem anymore. They kind of have electronic features built into them now. And where this one would normally be mounted, there was like a homemade box, like a box about the size of the emblem, behind the emblem that it was attached to, and there was like, the grill was cut out right there, and there were like these homemade looking covers over the fog lights, and there was just a lot of weird things going on like that. Just things that, I don't want to say homemade, but they were definitely made after this vehicle was manufactured, and it looked like something they were adding to like test different features, or to like test, it looked like something they were adding to test different features or to do something like that. So based on the information that I have, the sketchy Russian dudes that didn't want to talk, the manufacturing plates, like pre-production type plates, and the modifications to the vehicle, in addition to the fact that we cannot get a Helix here, and it was a diesel, leads me to believe that this is a test mule for Toyota. So does that mean the Helix is coming to the States? Not necessarily. Would I think that would be great? Absolutely. I'd be one of the first ones in line to buy one of those things. Like I said, people have been screaming until they're blue in the face to get these things, these diesel little pickups, to the States for years. They've been begging Toyota to bring them here, but it just hasn't happened yet. So I don't necessarily think so. What I think is happening is this is going to be they're trying to take some of this technology out of this and maybe implement a diesel into their U.S. market, possibly. Or maybe they're trying to implement... See, and this doesn't make sense. I was going to say maybe they try to implement the Hilux here, but it makes no sense because we already have the Tacoma, and unless they could get it with the diesel, it would be pointless. Even if they could get it with the diesel, why have a Hilux and a Tacoma, two small trucks in the same market? You don't need it. So what I think, my gut tells me that they're trying to develop their diesel engine so we can get it in the Tacoma maybe. Or it's going to go in other vehicles that Toyota already has. Maybe they're just working, forget the pickup in general. Maybe they're just working on developing their diesel. Because I don't necessarily know that a small diesel truck would do well in the States. Everyone here on smaller displacement engines has turbochargers, right? They have forced induction. Even the big diesels have turbos on them. So I don't know if there would really be a niche market big enough for Toyota to justify having the Hilux here. Really, I don't know, because think of any niche market that Toyota has ever dealt with. Sports cars, for example. So I'll be the first to admit that in that regard, Toyota really disappoints me because they made some of the best sports cars you could buy, period, in the 90s. I mean, they destroyed the MR2, the Supra, the Celica All-Track. These cars were amazing, and they just quit making them because they weren't selling enough, whatever. Well, now, all Toyota does is make boring cars. Yeah, I said it, they're boring. They're boring cars. They don't make anything exciting unless someone else is involved. Like Subaru with the 86, right? That's not a true Toyota, it's a rebadged Subaru, because Toyota doesn't want to have too much skin in the game on something they don't think they can sell at a mass level, and at the end of the day, let's face it, car enthusiasts aren't nearly as common as an everyday driver, so they don't market to them. So, in that regard, I don't think that Toyota would risk selling a niche pickup like the Hilux here. I think they're probably developing that technology for other vehicles, and I think that would be great. If they could, I'm not trying to be a downer. If they brought the Hilux here, I would be one of the first ones in line to try to buy one. I love those things. But I just don't see it happening. So, is the Hilux coming to the States? Is it a test mule? Who knows? Drop a comment down below, like, subscribe. See you next time.